Hi guys, it's Sunday with Pups and Crochet. Yes, I'm still wearing my biggie hat. I think it's so cute. Excuse me. I wanted to show you a couple things I made, and then I'm going to get onto my story. Okay, so I made him a happy little turtle. I made him out of the chenille yarn that I got in my yarn haul that I showed you. Isn't he cute? And I gave him a little green belly. That mint green, or the, what was that, forest green? And then this was the little mint blue. Then, I made this guy. He's so tiny. And I gave him a yellow belly and yellow legs, and then I made him pink. And this is out of that really thin chenille yarn. And I was showing Olivia, I said, look. And she goes, those are not sea creatures. I said, yes, they do. They live in the sea. He goes, those are turtles. I'm like, yeah. And then I got a little turtle. A little mini turtle I'm making. I didn't get him finished yet, but I'll show you him. So, and that is what I made. Now I'm on to my 100 Days of Halloween with Neva from Manic Mama Music. And I am on number, I have to write it down now because, you know, my memory stinks. I'm on day 93, going down to number 1, which will be Halloween. So, my story today, as I was telling you, I was watching these different documentaries, these different storylines, all these different things on these, you know, and not just spooky movies. Now, last year I did spooky movies and then did a square for each one. And I got my bag of squares, and I'm going to start putting those together. But I'm working on something else to show Olivia, so, and something new just for me to try, but also to show Olivia because she's really into sea creatures right now. So, my story is Folsom Prison in California. I was watching this documentary on this, and it was, I don't really get into massive documentaries, but this one just snagged me for some reason, and it was really good. It started in 1958. They started building Folsom Prison. Now, what they did was they brought in prisoners from different jails, or different prisons, I should say. They brought them into the quarry where this was being built, and it was quarry rock around the whole thing. And let me make sure that's right. Quarry rock. Yeah, it's a stone quarry. Yeah. And a couple of them did try to escape. They tried to climb up the rock. It would let loose, fall down, kill them. They just got carried away. So if they wanted to try and run, they could, but they wouldn't make it out. And a couple of them that were working, you know, they didn't have machines like we do now. And the rock would fall and crush them, and they would just take them away. But they had the prisoners build this prison. Now, the mayor at this time wanted this to be a happy town to match with their town. They wanted it to be welcoming, and so they built this tower that looks like a castle. It's all built out of stone, and they said even if a prisoner hammered through it with something they got in the shop or something like that, they would not get through this stone in years and years and years. Just picking at it, because this place is solid. So, let me make sure. Now, what they built first, they built a section that was for these Chinese, I mean, you're talking 1858, so it was like a Chinese mob kind of thing. So they had them build these short, like, one-story little ones because it wasn't going to be in the main building. And these guys were caught killing and murdering and doing all kinds of bad stuff. And so they arrested them. They got them all. They arrested them. And these cells were made for them. And each cell was just enough room for them to lay down. They couldn't even lay across. It was just that it had a door with a couple little holes on the bottom. There was no ventilation, no air, and they were given 2 buckets, one with fresh water and one for a potty. So if you made a mistake, you were out for that month or that week, whatever it was. And so they were put in there, and then the other prisoners started working on the main prison. But the first thing they wanted done was that tower. They wanted it to look like a castle, so it'd be welcoming. And I still find that funny, that they wanted it to be pretty like a castle, so it would be welcoming and look nice in their town. Okay, you're a maximum security prison, but you want it to be pretty. But I guess in 1958, it was what they did. And so this was the second prison to be built. And so the workers from the first prison was brought over. Different prisons were brought over to help work in this stuff. And, you know, they just kept going. So they built the prison. Now this prison has, it's, how many? I think it's like 5 stories. I'm trying to see. Okay, so it was made of granite, and it was basically had the prisoners there to work, but also to serve out some of their time and to do their punishment. So they were made to carry these heavy stones and all the stuff and build this by hand. And the San Quentin was a lot where the prisoners had come from, was San Quentin, to come work in there. And in 1913, next to the in 1913, what was it they did? Oh, I'm sorry. That's where I messed up. This started in the late 1800s. Okay, by 1913 is when they brought those Chinese prisoners in and had their single level of just those things. Okay, and I'm sorry, I'm really out of it today. And they had, these places did not have electric or any way to make electric go through there. So the prisoners were given 2 candles so that they could read at night or just see in their room. But one of the prisoners that they had gotten an interview with was saying how they would just lay there and watch the bed bugs fall from the ceiling on them, biting them all over until they got to get out for the 1 hour. Or if they were gonna go work more. And so this was the regular prisoners. Once the prison was built, he was talking about that. I'm going to tell you before I forgot. And then they ran out of money while they're building this prison, so it had no gate around it. But it had different it had different towers where the guards were, and they were told to shoot if they see a prisoner going. Shoot. Shoot on sight. They run, you shoot. Once they pass that little, line they put around it. They put a line, but no fence because they ran out of money. So, a couple of them did try to run for it. They got shot, and they shoot to kill. So, that pretty much kept a lot of them in the line. They didn't want to do that. But this part is what I found very interesting. I didn't know this. So here's something for you to learn. It's always good to learn something new every day. But the uniforms, if you ever look at old-time pictures and things like that, they had this all in the stripes. And I didn't know this, that the way the stripes went meant a different thing. So if you had all horizontal stripes, you didn't do anything. You were the bottom feeders. So, like the little Chinese mafia, the first ones, they had all horizontal stripes. And so they had to go into their room when they got out to eat. Their trays were nailed to the table. And then when they were done, just 2 buckets of water were thrown on it with soap, and then a bucket of water with clean water. That was it. And then they had to come in their next meal and eat off that stuff. Clean or not clean, just a bucket of water. That was it. But if a prisoner had the vertical stripes and then a horizontal bottom, they were moving up. They were upper prisoners. So they got privileges. They got to eat all different stuff than the ones with just horizontals. They got better food. They got trays that actually came off the table. They got to sit and talk. They dumped their trays, and their trays were cleaned. Then they had a leader's ones that had horizontal pants, a white shirt with a little black vest. Now, these guys wore the top feeders. They were like the ones that would manage 50 prisoners, 25 prisoners, and they got to eat whatever the staff ate. So they had chicken, ribs, everything that was made special for the guards, the workers, everybody, and the warden. These guys got to eat. So these guys were the top, which I thought that was really interesting, that I never knew. And now when I see an old-time picture, I'm going to look at the stripes and see, because that's how they told. And then in 1890, they started to get electric from a pond that was outside of the prison. It ringed one side of the prison, so they used that pond for electricity. By 1893, the first lights were installed. And by 1884, they had their first potties that actually were potties, that flushed and everything. Then, once the prison was finished with everything they did, the granite that was left, or the granite that was broken because it fell on a prisoner, or they tried to escape and it fell on them, or whatever, they made more money by selling the granite to a cemetery that used that granite to make headstones. And they could shape it out of the broken pieces. So I'm like, okay, at least it served a purpose, I guess. And then what was weird is there was a train that would run by the prison. And when the train would come, the guards would have to go there and inspect the whole train to make sure no prisoner jumped on it. Because if they did, they could get away really fast and nobody would even know where they got off or anything. So the train would go by and drop off, and it would stop, drop stuff off for the prison. The guards would have to check everything. And then this is another thing, on the 4th of July during that time, they would have everybody from the town come, you know, even if they didn't have family there to visit or whatever, they would bring the people from the town in. And I guess that's why he really wanted it like a castle. And they would have open day. And they would let the prisoners out, and the people got to watch them do games. Like, they did boxing where they beat the daylights out of each other. They did fun games. They did basketball. You know, whatever kind of games they had at that time, they would do. And then they had a stage that they put up, and the people would get to watch these shows, and the guys would dress up like women and make a play up, and they would act it out on stage for all the visitors and stuff. And then once, you know, they got everything together, they got better ventilation, they got the potties, they had the visitors day. Well, along the line, after they were talking about one guy that was, I mean, and this was filmed a long time ago, but they were talking to one guy that was in that prison, and he said that they had a thing called tracing, and what they would do is they would hang the prisoners for torture. They would put this like straitjacket on, but it was more like a girdle. So when the guards would lace it, it would crush their ribs and stuff, and they could hardly breathe. And they would do this thing, tracing, and they would hang them up by their hands. And then they had that thing on them so they couldn't move at all because they couldn't breathe. So they just hung there, and then their toes were just touching the ground. And just long enough, and they would leave them in there for like 24 out of 48 hours, depending on what they did wrong in the prison. And that is a song that that Johnny Cash did, a song about Folsom Prison. So I thought that was interesting, and I hope you enjoyed it. And to all our new viewers, welcome. I hope you are enjoying our channel. I'm getting back into things. I've been sick a little bit, so I took a little time off, but I hope you found that interesting. I thought it was interesting. And oh, that went down. Dropped it. But please remember, I'm sending you hugs and puppy kisses, prayers if you need them, and always please remember, adopt, don't shop. There are just too many babies that are out there that need a home. Okay. Bye, guys, and I will be back. Bye.